What's up, guys? With the Brazil Internationals coming up, as well as the Toronto and Stuttgart Regionals, I thought I would make a matchup guide to Lugia VSTAR explaining all the text for different matchups you can play, and what you should focus on when playing these matchups is an incredibly powerful deck that I think you at the very least should consider playing, so I think this video is informative to anyone. So if you like the content, drop a sub, drop a like, let me know what you think, or if you have any questions, comment them below. But yeah, let's get into the video. Alright, guys, I have 10 decks here that I want to talk about. A couple at the end we're just going to go fast through. We're going to start at the top, most played deck in the format. You're going to be playing, if you're playing Lugia, you're going to be playing the Mirror, and you got to know what you're doing in the matchup. So you can see the list on screen. So what it really comes down to in the end is just how often basically just how often you can take knockouts. If you get the first attack, and you attack get a knockout every turn for the rest of the game, you're going to be winning, but it's tough to do that. So, one thing to consider is if you put all your powerful energies on your first Lugia, when your opponent puts all their powerful energies on their Lugia, you're going to struggle to continually knock them out in return because they have the V-Guard energy, and if you use all your powerful energies at the beginning of the game, as said, then you don't have powerful energies for later. So really being efficient and finding the best time to use your powerful energies is going to be very good. Even taking 2 shots on Lugias so that you're not the one getting respawn killed, or using Yveltal or something like that. You just really don't want to be getting respawn killed by Lugia, because then you can use Yveltal, but it's really hard to use Yveltal, Radiant Art, and then another Lugia to take all those prizes. Really fast. So yeah, just thinking about, I mean, if you can kill a Lugia V early in the game, you're gonna be in a really good spot. Then your opponent kind of has to, make a response kill on you, whether that's with Yveltal or not. Or if they can put together like a Raikou or a Radiant Zard, but they really don't want to be using the Radiant Zard early because way better to use the Radiant Zard later because it's more energy efficient. A few things to think about: the attacking with Luminion is really good in the later stages of the game, I've found as well, because it kills both Radiant Zard and Yveltal. So a lot of the time, yeah, you're going to be needing to attack with Luminion to get your final prizes, or even just not have to spend any energies, because when you think about, the Luminion's attack is free. So if you've got a Manaphy on board, you can use Luminion, shove your Manaphy active, and the Manaphy can take a hit and survive. That's gonna be something you can use. But yeah, just focusing on your prize trade, and yeah, all that stuff is gonna be how you win the Lugia Mirror. So the next matchup we're going to talk about is Mew Genesect. So with Mew Genesect, in the early game, you really have to focus on getting rid of their fusion energy, because you don't want them one-shotting your Lugias. They are a faster deck, and you really have to get 2 Lugias out on turn 1 to make sure that you're safe against a Meloetta attack. So, because you really need a Lugia on board. If you like play Lugia enough, you'll realize, I mean, pretty fast, that if on turn 2 you don't have a Lugia in play, you can never win. So you have to get as many Lugia downs on your first turn, Lugias down on your first turn as possible, and then it's focusing on getting rid of their fusion energies. So you have to kill their Meloetta. You can't chase around it unless you can kill a Mew with fusion energies, which is a much better play. But yeah, and then using Yveltal, and even just Lugia with 3 to 4 powerfuls and a belt, depending on if they have Oricorio in play or not, to knock out their Mew VMAX. You really want to be taking 1 shots. You don't want to be taking 2 shots. That's going to put them in a good position. So yeah, and they can use their, and you want to have the V-Guard energy, and if you play Tool Jammer like this list does, that's going to be super, super important to prevent them from taking knockouts, because usually they'll take the first knockout. If they take a knockout every turn, they'll win before you do. If you can't, get big 1 shots and Mew VMAXs, which sometimes you can't, like getting all 4 powerfuls onto one Lugia can be a struggle, especially if you can only get one Archeops into play, which is sometimes the issue this deck has. But yeah, also just really thinking about how you're taking your prize trades. So usually, if you're be killing Meloetta first, they're gonna go with Meloetta, and then you're gonna kill Mew, and then you're gonna kill like Serena up at Genesect, attack with Radiant Zard or something. So that's how you're gonna focus on winning, and you just have to try and prevent them from winning that fast, so, like not using Crobat, or like preventing using Crobat as well as much as possible. If you can use Luminion on the first turn to knock out Meloetta, that's a really strong play as well. Yeah, just preventing prizes, taking prizes fast. You want to be winning in 3 attacks in 4 turns. Doing that as much as possible is really going to be the focal point of this matchup and what you should be focusing on. So the next matchup we're going to talk about Lost Zone Box. Now this matchup is where we start to talk about techs. So for Lost Zone Box, The tech you can be playing to beat them is Stoutland. So the two main cards this deck is playing one of them. The Raikou, I mean, it's more situational against both variants. So there's two Lost Bone Vox variants, the Mirage Gates and the non-Mirage Gates. The Raikou is better against the Mirage Gate version because it's harder for them to get Manaphy into play a lot of the time because they have a lot of moving parts. So the Raikou is going to be helpful. But against either version, it doesn't matter. If you're playing Stoutland, you're going to have a really good matchup. The Stoutland sometimes against the Mirage Gate doesn't instantly win you the game because it goes 2 for 2. But against Lost Box, like, you just get one knockout with that Stoutland sort of in the later parts of the game. You want to be using it later in the game because you don't want to give them Radiant Zard too early because that can give them sort of a swing to get back into it even though you are using such an effective attacker. If you can use it on 3 prizes when they've sort of taken 2 prizes, you go down to 1 prize. Game's already over at that point. So yeah. The Stoutland, very good tech. For Lost Zone Box, and if that's what you're focusing on, you want to be being that. Otherwise, using attacks like Archeops, Archeops, Radiant Zard, and Lugia are going to be your attackers. Your Veltal's going to be completely useless in this matchup. And Raikou as well. If they have Manaphy in play, it's useless. If they don't, then it's useful. But yeah, just attack with your Lugias, and then in the late game, when they're going to their Radiant Zard, you want to attack with Archeops to make it awkward for them to kill your last 2 Lugias, especially if they're on 4 prizes. Well, really only if they're on 4 prizes. Yeah, you want to attack with your Archeops to put them in awkward situations, or even the Radiant Zard. Both sort of do the same effect. The Radiant Zard is more HP, but it's much easier to attack with Archeops because it's always going to be in play, always, because you need it in play after Lugia to accelerate your energy. So that's how you're going to handle the Lost Box matchup. The next matchup we're going to talk about is Regigigas. Regis. This matchup's all about teching. Dunsparce, Manaphy, those are going to be your go-to cards. You don't, from what I found, you don't need both. You really need Dunsparce. You absolutely need Dunsparce, so they're just going to absolutely run over your Lugias, and there's nothing you can do. They're going to knock stuff out way faster than you can knock things out. But you've got Dunsparce, there's things you can do. You can use Luminion. So what they're going to do if you have Dunsparce and no Manaphy is they're going to use their Regigigas to ping your Dunsparce. So what you can do is then let your Lugia take a hit, and then you can use Luminion to go into your Dunsparce that's taken damage, and then that prevents them from taking a lot of prizes. The issue is that if they can find Serena, but a lot of the time it's hard for them to use Boss. There's a reason they play low counter this card because it's really, really hard for them to get Regigigas back in the active after you use Luminion. To knock out their Pokemon. It's really hard for them to get Regigigas back into the active, charged up. They're going to need a net, a Regigigas, and the Serena in their hand, which can be tough for them. So, and also just attacking with Archeops if you can get them on an uneven prize trade. You can attack with Archeops and attack with Lugia as your final prize. Tool Jammer as well, insane in this matchup. It just means that the Regigigas can't kill you. So even if you're just running Manaphy, if you're running High Cloud piece of Tool Jammer, then you can do that instead. So definitely a lot of ways to tech against this matchup. The Manaphy and the Dunsparce are the main two, but that's how you play the Regi matchup. The next deck we're going to talk about is Giratina. Now, in this matchup, it's really about analyzing what the threat is. There's a few plays they can do. They can use Greninja onto both your Archeops and then use Sableye to knock both of them out in 2 consecutive turns. So if that happens, you really have to charge your Lugias, and that is a threat. But the main threat in this matchup is the Giratinas. If you can keep chasing and knocking out their Giratinas, you're going to be in a really good spot. So, if you get the opportunity to Serena up Giratinas and just continually knock them out. Nothing else on their board is a threat to your Lugias exactly. So if you can prevent playing down Crobat Luminion or even just use Luminion to attack, if you can just make it so they have no Giratinas in play, they're just going to eventually lose. Because Sableye isn't a good enough attacker in this matchup. They don't have enough Sableyes. You can just go around Sableye. It's not that big of a threat. Unless it is actually threatening to your board. For example, you started Dunsparce, and they can make them a good prize trade for themselves with just using Sableye. But I've found that it's really uncommon. And you're going to be need to using V-Guard energy on your Lugia. They play Temples so they can get around it with their lost impact. But yeah, that's what you need to focus on. They can be playing Choice Bell as well to two-shot with their Kramer, and that's something Lost Box can do as well. But yeah, chasing out their Giratinas. Yeah, also something to note for the Lost Box matchup, we're going to go back to that. You can use Collapse Stadium to discard your own damaged Pokemon, your damaged Lugia, if you're not running the Stoutland, to get an advantage that way. To take away one of their attacks, very important, very good. Yeah, but it just depends. But yeah, that was a bit of Giratina and Lost Box. On to the next matchup. So the next matchup we're going to be talking about is Arceus Dura. Now, from what I've found, even though they have their special energy, the Dura which blocks special energies, what you can use is Lugia, what you can use is just be aggressive. This is going to be your main strength in this matchup. If you can target down their Duraludons before they can evolve, that's great. Yeah, but the main thing is just, yeah, if you can kill their Arceus early as well and not give them energies, then you can go into Yveltal and just knock out both of their Duraludons. You just knock out the Duraludon. There's energy on it, and they're sort of left fumbling until you can find Lost Vacuum. Yeah, so the main thing they're going to try and do is Parasol to block your Yveltal, but if you can use Lost Vacuum, it's going to be way less of an... if you can find your Lost Vacuum, it's going to be less of an issue. You can just use Yveltal. Yveltal is the focal point of this matchup. You absolutely need to use Yveltal to knock out the Duraludons. Nothing else can knock out the Duraludons except Yveltal. Yeah, I found this is actually quite a favorable matchup. If you can just, play fast early. If they get two Duraludons with two Parasols, whatever, you lose. Like, there's nothing you could have done about that. But yeah, they're a really inconsistent deck, and they really struggle to even draw their Parasols in general. So yeah, just playing fast, knocking out what you can. Ideally, you knock out Duraludons, but if you have to knock out Arceus, just knock it out. So yeah, that'll be the Arceus Duraludon matchup. And now there's going to be a few matchups I'm going to go over here really fast. There's going to be Kyurem, Vika, Palkia, and Zoroark, starting with Kyurem. Their deck is very fragile, so you just have to sort of, if you can one-shot a Kyurem with either Yveltal or Lugia, what I've found is that you just win from there. If you can get 4 Powerfuls and a Choice Belt on your Lugia to knock out Kyurem, you usually just win from there. So that's basically your main strat. If you can't, you can also go for a 2-2-2 prize trade, where you kill like Crobat, Palkia, and Lumineon all in a row. Yeah, so that's sort of what you're focusing on doing. Yeah, just come up with a good prize trade. If you think it's realistic for you to kill Kyurem, then do that. You can also, killing Kyurem also stops them from attacking with Kyurem Kyurem. So if you have a V-Guard energy on your Lugia, then stopping them from attacking. So yeah, killing their Kyurem stops them from knocking you out if they don't have a second one, and if they use a second one, then you can just use Yveltal to clean up the game, taking 3 prizes in 2 consecutive turns. So it really just depends on the situation. That's going to be the Kyurem matchup. Now the Vika matchup, this one is pretty simple. There isn't really a whole lot you can do. Just sort of put your Archeops in play, kill the Vika Volts where possible, get Dunsparce down if you play that, like this list on screen does. So yeah. That's sort of the main thing. You can't really do much else. There isn't really much to think about. You're just setting up your Lugias and attacking with your Lugias. Those are going to be your best attackers. If you can set up a Radiant Zard to attack, that's perfect. But if they have Cape, it's not as good because then you're not knocking out Vikavolt. So yeah, just turn 1. You literally have to just focus on getting Archeops and discard. You absolutely have to do that. And then turn 2, you're focused on drawing your Lugia VSTAR. Get Dunsparce down if you can. If you can't, it's fine. You'll be fine. Yeah, just knock out their Vikavolt and they'll struggle to set up. Now, the next matchup is Palkia. There isn't really much to think about this matchup. Just knock out their Palkias. They're going to try and Roxanne Temple you. Hope that you draw out of it. There isn't much to think about. Try not to use your Stadiums early, or your Lost Vacuum, or your Pumpkaboo, because then, yeah, you can use your you can use that once you get Roxanne and Templed, which they're gonna do. And yeah, just try and attack with Radiant Zard late if you get the opportunity, because your best attacker in the matchup, Yveltal, isn't as great in this matchup from what I've found. But yeah, that will be the Palkia matchup onto Zoro matchup. Now this matchup is very similar to the rest of the matchups. I don't know. There isn't really much to say. Knock out those Zoroarks, they'll probably lose. If they can take 2 prizes early, yeah, just knock out. You can use Radiant Zard. They have no other way to attack. If you just consecutively knock out their Hisuian Zoroarks, you'll win. Like, this is a very, very good matchup for you. So yeah, there isn't really much to say. Just take 2 prizes 3 times and hope that wins you the game, and it should more than it doesn't. So yeah, that'll be it for the video. Yeah, couldn't put my effort into this. I'm stretched on time. So yeah, if you enjoyed, drop a like, drop a sub. Let me know what you think in the comments, or if you have any questions about Lugia, feel free to ask them. I've been playing a lot of Lugia recently, so yeah. See you guys.